Well, Mental Map Blues. This is again, it puts me. You have a really good way musically, and then lyrically, but a lot of times musically, because that's the first thing you usually hear in your songs, is putting me in a place that I'm familiar, or a place that I've seen many times depicted somewhere. So, in this record is like hanging around in a smoky bar talking about a woman who ain't worth it.
I hear you.
What was the inspiration behind this particular blues instrumental? Did it start as an instrumental, and who were the players?
Oh yeah, it's right. There's only two people on this cut.
Oh,
me
wow.
and Greg Weichel.
Okay, that's what I figured. That's what I figured.
I mean, Greg and I were on a roll. I mean, we had By the Fence in the Sun. We were going to eventually work on You Ain't Never. Mental Map Blues actually started off. I started putting it together with a friend by the name of Gary Miller. And Gary is an old buddy. His wife, Sue, and I went to school together. Gary and I worked on lots of different educational projects. And in the latter part of his life, he started getting into his guitar and into music. And so he wrote the lyrics to a song called Mental Map Blues. And so I put together the music, sent him over some rough tracks. And before he could actually get in the studio, he passed away, which was a really sad moment. He's part of the reason why, Moving On was written. But the music was still there, and it was incomplete. All it was just a simple rhythm track and with drums and bass and a little bit of organ. No electric guitars, no vocals, no nothing. Well, I said, I do not want to sing these vocals that Gary has written. It's not like they're bad vocals; they weren't. It's just I wanted to hear him sing them, and since he's not around to sing them, they're just not going to be part of the song. But I always wanted to have a blues instrumental that I could call my own. Something traditional, something, that everybody else has played along to in one type or another, but I wanted it to be mine. And the only way I can make it mine is to have somebody who understood that, right from the get-go, and could actually say, all right, I'll come in with you on this one, Tom, and I'm going to put down, I'm going to make this, the rhythm parts and the lead parts, I'm going to make them mine. And but between the two of us, we're going to put together a hell of a blues song. And so that was Greg Weichel. I mean, I put together the organ parts just like I put together the organ leads in Over the Falls. I used the Joe Vitale, loops and put that together. But Greg put the electric rhythm parts down. And then he gave me about 3 different lead tracks, and the different lead tracks were with different tones on his electric guitar. One of them was kind of straight, one was a little fuzzy, and then the other one was just rock and roll distorted. And I was able to use parts of all 3 of them. But, Greg and I were in sync on that tune right from the get-go. I mean, when I listened back, we both listened back just to the rough tracks before mixing and stuff like that. We knew we had something special. And so that song ended up being a great instrumental, which I really love. Still to this day, I really enjoy listening to that. And I remember watching Greg putting his parts on that. It was wonderful. And that also was the basis for Mental Map Blues. Tanya says, Mental Map Blues sounds an awful lot like Over the Falls. And, it's a different tempo. But the chords and everything were like the same. I said, you're absolutely right. So when we did it in the concert, we put basically the Mental Map Blues without the organ, of course, Mental Map Blues stuff in there for the music, and Over the Falls were the lyrics, and it came out just rocking. I mean, it was a great song. Had lead parts from Greg and from Donnie. And so we had a good time, doing that live when it came around to having the chance to do that. But yeah, it was in the studio. It was definitely me and Greg, and I loved mixing that. He had a great performance. He even brought some of those licks that he put on Mental Map Blues into the concert, which I really loved. Little teeny tiny things that only Greg and I would know that when he played them, I would get this shit-eating grin on my face, knowing where it came from. So yeah, that was a 2-person thing, but it turned out to be, everything that I wanted it to be.
Well, my next question is, speaking of Greg, his amp, did y'all use a spring reverb in his amp, or did you add reverb, or did you use both?
No, I whenever I do tracks like electric guitar tracks, even acoustic guitar tracks, my lap steel tracks, I put them in dry. Basically, he did all of his lead work. He added the distortion. I don't really particularly get into adding distortion after the fact. I think adding the distortion or having the distortion present while the person is playing offers up so many more creative moments, as far as the flavor of the tune and of course their engagement in the playing. So, I mean, so Greg, he basically he brought over his amp. I forget exactly what it was that he brought. I want to say there's a Fender Jazz, but that's not true. I forget, but we recorded it with a Sennheiser 609, which that is my favorite all-time. It's such a simple mic, but it's my favorite all-time electric guitar amp mic. I mean, I've gotten more successful recording sessions out of that mic, put up against the speaker on an electric guitar amp than I can even shake a stick at. I mean, it's a great little microphone. So I was able to capture his rhythm and his lead tracks there. So, it proves that Greg is not only in the moment as far as the song is concerned. It shows how good an electric rhythm player and an electric lead player he really is.
I hear you. That's a good one. He was really good on that one.
Oh yeah, he shined on that. I mean,
and that's hard to do because he's really good on everything.
And that's how fortuitous it was way back in the day when Greg and I crossed paths. I owe Bob Smith that, for getting us together for a recording session at his studio for a commercial. And we've had that connective tissue and that magic happening ever since.